Hi, everybody. My name's Karl Redenbach, co-founder and CEO of LiveTiles. Today's investor session, we're going to be talking to our operations in the US, in Ireland, in Europe, and we also hear from Microsoft. For those that don't know LiveTiles, just very briefly, we are the global leaders in what we call the intelligent workplace. Gartner just announced a few months ago what they called package intranet services as a market, and LiveTiles was the second largest growing company by us in terms of deployments, next to Facebook. When it came to Forrester, they looked at a market they defined as what they called intranet package services, and LiveTiles was the third largest next to Microsoft and Atlassian in that space. And so in a very short amount of time, we've been able to grow our business to 1,116 recurring revenue customers across the globe. We have customers like Nike, the US Marines, and the Australian Financial Review in March named LiveTiles as the fastest growing technology company for the last 3 years by revenue. So we have a lot of growth to go. It's been a crazy year, but today I'm very pleased to talk to three really key presenters that will give you a different global view of what we do. So firstly, Daniel Diefendorf, who is the president of LiveTiles based in New York. You're going to hear about the US operations. You're going to hear from Elaine Murphy, who runs our European operations there, and all the great work we do in companies like Novartis and some huge European companies we're working with. And then last but not least is Brett Gordon, who is our Microsoft's lead partner manager for Australia. You'll hear his New Jersey accent. He's originally from New Jersey, but living in Sydney. And you're going to hear about the work that we're doing together as a team. So having said all that, I'm going to flick straight over live to New York State, where we've got Dan Diefendorf, our president. Over to you, Dan.
Great, thanks, Karl. I really appreciate the intro and appreciate all of you for joining the conference today. So I'm just going to go through some quick slides here that will hopefully give you an idea and a flavor of why we're so excited about the business here, particularly in what we call the Americas, but also focusing on some of the market here in the United States. So the Americas for us is really Canada and the US. Real quickly about myself, I've been around building customer and sales organizations for the last 20 years. I've been in the cloud software market for the last 12. My background is very similar to Karl and Pete's in that I used to work in services and building services businesses and later on cloud businesses. So all along that time, we've been doing that with Microsoft as our key partner, and have been doing that pretty successfully throughout the digital workplace space and the employee engagement space. But in terms of my piece today here for the investor overview, I wanted to talk a little bit about the size of the market here and why it gets us so excited. I also want to talk through just some market observations, and then I'll cap it off with some of the pieces that we see in terms of opportunity with Microsoft here in the States. So some of you may know certainly the size geographically of the United States, but don't fully appreciate the corporate density. Sometimes those of us that live here don't even fully appreciate that. But if you just look at the chart here real quick, predominantly LiveTiles targets customers over 500 employees in size. We certainly do have some underneath that, and certainly much more larger, like Karl had indicated, with companies like Nike and Pepsi that are long-standing customers. But if you look at just here between 500 and 1,000, 1,000 plus, we're talking over 42,000 companies within our addressable market, many of which are also Microsoft customers and that we partner with together and go to market with. So we really feel like we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the opportunity here. We felt that well before the pandemic, and we feel especially now as we've launched new products and we've seen the surgence of new work styles and how people are working going forward into 2021 and beyond. Here are some key points I just want to go through. Some of you that have followed us may have seen some of this information in the past, but I think it's worth noting. This year in particular really has been a tale of 2 years, the way I look at it. Sort of the first half of the year and the second half of the year. The first half of the year I won't go into. I think we've all lived that and we're ready to put that behind us. The second half of the year, we've really been focused on building the business and executing on helping customers either transform or accelerate what they want to do with their businesses moving forward. We've seen a marked increase in our pipeline over that same period, particularly since September. And in the last 60 days, we've seen our pipeline double. Over that same time period, we've also seen many organizations in particular verticals, some of which we expected, some of which we didn't, that are really accelerating their journey. And I want to highlight those companies that have frontline or what we call first line workers. Those are workers that typically don't sit behind a computer or a desk all day long like I do. Companies that, or I'm sorry, employees that may work in a hospital setting, a healthcare setting. They may work on a shop floor or a contact center, or they may actually work in a retail store. And we're seeing those businesses accelerate how they communicate and engage with their employees, and to bring technology that's easy to use and engaging for them as they plan how to either reopen or to accelerate their business operations in the new environment. Particularly over the last few months, we've seen a number of new inquiries come in through the web, new lead opportunities, particularly a lot of RFPs, requests for quotes, and new contracts that have come through that were really, our marketing and our accelerated roadmap had all paved the way for, but we're seeing more customers come in as they want to understand how LiveTiles can help them along that journey. And I think that's a key part of this, is because a lot of our architecture and our roadmap goes towards the building blocks of the journey that the customers might be on. And so we're helping them through that journey. And that's really the longer term path that Karl had indicated and why we're getting recognition from the likes of Gartner and Forrester and others. The other thing that we're seeing that's nice is that while the pandemic is still around, the US market and the North American market is really moving forward with a positive approach to whether it's reopening or accelerating business plans around budgets. So we've seen certainly decisions are being made quicker, but they're also sort of cautious in their decisions. So they're looking for long-term partners to work with. They're not making shorter-term decisions just to make short-term technology implementation decisions. They're really looking for partners to go along this. So it's been this nice coalescence of quick decision-making with long-term partnership that we've seen come out of this. So we've been really excited about that. Now, Brett will key in on some of this, but particularly here in the States, we have great support from Microsoft. And I want to talk about some of the pieces why the partnership works so well. One is that we have a joint mission. We want to help people not only love their work, but we want to help how they interact with technology and how technology interacts with them. And we want to make that process easier, and we want it to be a better journey for them. So one of the things that our products do consistently is we help increase the adoption of the investment our customers have already made in Microsoft 365. And particularly with the tremendous growth of Microsoft Teams, our solutions also drive what we call MAU, or monthly active usage. And that's incredibly important to make sure people are using the tools properly, they're getting the most value out of it, and it's also helping them do their jobs. To help take a lot of this forward, one of the things that we've done is we've created two pretty significant strategic moves with Microsoft here in North America. One is we've got a formal enterprise joint go-to-market campaign. So if you remember from that first part of the graph that I had presented, the bigger bar of the two are the larger organizations over 1,000 employees. Those are the organizations that we're going after together to help create the longer-term roadmaps for the way their employees will be working, continue to be working throughout 2021 and beyond. Microsoft also has an inside sales center, actually 3 of them here that cover North America. And we are also taking our solutions into those inside sales centers to help cover the next level of corporation down, so what they call small and medium corporations, to help deploy solutions such as LiveTiles Reach and help those companies get access to the best tech they can to support their employees. Now, I do want to make a quick note about Canada as well. Canada has been a particularly key market for us that we entered fairly recently, the last year and a half. And when the Canadian data center was launched by Microsoft, we followed in Sioux launching our operation. And we've been seeing quite a bit of partner growth. Canada is a particular market where we go to market with partners, which are other typically Microsoft systems integrators. And we've seen great demand over the last 3, 6, 9 months, continued demand for intranets, as well as our newer stuff, our newer projects, particularly LiveTiles Reach and LiveTiles Vibe. And if I can give you kind of one closing statement around the market conditions right now, we're obviously very prudent about our approach in terms of what we're doing in the market, but we are starting to make moves to bring new hires on to support the demand. That's not only sales hires, but that's also customer success, our pre-sales teams, and anyone to support customer operations and our partner teams, because we are seeing really businesses moving at a much faster rate than we would have expected this time in the year. And we want to support that growth, but we also want to help them create measured plans so that they can succeed long term. Before I move on to Elaine, I want to close off with a story that you may have heard, but I think it's worth reiterating if you have not, or just want to share it to you, because I think it's a very positive story. We didn't expect retail was going to be such a great opportunity for us, particularly at this point in the year with the holiday season upon us. But we've had many stores throughout North America and really retailers globally that have come to us that have wanted to figure out how they can communicate with employees at a critical moment, which is their reopening. Now, we did announce this win previously in our other ASX announcements, but I want to come back to it, that we did win a global retailer, which was one of our largest licensing deals ever, with a store reach of 3,100 stores in 27 countries. They're using our software, LiveTiles Reach, as the basis for all communications across their corporate staff, which launches as an app in Microsoft Teams, and then ultimately is used as a mobile app to all their contact centers, distribution centers, and their store workers. Now, communications can sound like it's a really easy thing to solve for, but it's not with diverse groups. And so we've created multiple geolocated instances of the application that are secure, compliant with all local regulations, including things like GDPR. We are servicing 20 languages and over 55,000 staff. And you can see here, we're also using it for training, policies, procedures, compliance, and staff engagement. This is a wonderful win for a company that's really walking fast and focused into this new economy and to their new business, and they're being successful with it. And later, we will be building up a number of integrations for this customer as well, bringing other workflow and tools that the customers will have at their fingertips. So we couldn't be more excited about this win. And I hope that this all gives you a bit of an overview of kind of what we've got going here in the States and North America. And I'll pause there. I would like to get you over to my colleague, Elaine Murphy, who's currently in Ireland, and she'll give you a quick update on the European operations. Elaine, are you there?
I am indeed. Thanks, Dan. Guess best way to start off is let you know a little bit about me. I've held multiple leadership roles in startups and in the tech space in recent years. And I've been with LiveTiles and on the exciting journey for just over 3 years now. And obviously, it's been a fantastic trajectory in terms of our market share in Europe, with 2 exciting acquisitions under our belt in the last 18 months. So I've been part and parcel of organizing that and facilitating some seamless integrations there, but culturally and also for the workplace. I'm a leading voice in tech clusters in Europe, and I'm passionate very much about bringing tech startups and scale-ups together with innovators, educators, really around that collective goal of promoting tech for good. So on to a little bit about the EMEA market. And I guess I started there with the phrase strengthening business conditions. And COVID-19, without a doubt, it's been tough for businesses, but it's also been an extremely efficient accelerator of digital transformation and digital workplace technologies in particular. And that's paved the way for us for a very well-primed pipeline for the next 12 months. the uptick that we're seeing, particularly in Europe right now, it's very much around the rise in the popularity of the mobile app, a little to what Dan touched on there, that reach offering, where organizations are seeking to release comms in a very, very quick fashion and to ensure that they're consumed in as speedy a fashion as they possibly can. In fact, I heard a statement this week where a company said to us, Reach has become their crisis comms savior. And I thought that's really, really pertinent. People and organizations are overhauling their communications plans in recent months and really starting to figure out where they fit and what's right for their organization for 2021. So definitely think the rise of the mobile apps is going to play a pivotal role. Also, as we look at a hybrid way of working for many companies now, in fact, we had a customer event in Europe this week, and we ran a poll, and it was attended by well over 100, 150 customers. We ran a poll as part of the event, and we had about 76% of attendees advising us that they see a hybrid workforce moving forward. The balance was work from home, but nobody saw that they would do a full return to the office anytime in the future. So that means that organizations are having to pivot and actually attain and understand and attract much more information and data about their employees. The water cooler conversations just aren't there anymore. They need to collect some information. And our employee directory is playing a vital part there. And that's just data gathering via technology. And that's everything from t-shirt sizes where they want to send out some information to skills for placing people on projects and new programs are out running, etc. And just understanding the interests of their employees. I suppose another area that we're witnessing a change in is definitely the strategic importance of employee experience. And traditionally, I would have seen that reserved more and more for the HR, people and culture departments. Now we're seeing an interest across all functional leads, and C-suite are coming to the table and decision making very, very quickly. So instead of potentially elongated life cycles, which we may have seen on some larger projects historically, we're seeing them snap in very, very close, and we're turning around projects and opportunities in record time. With this in mind, I'm pretty upbeat about the strength in the sector. We first and foremost got a number there around our 480 customers. That's already well over 500 since we've compiled that slide, giving you a strong indication already. And our customers, those 500 plus customers, they're the biggest advocates for us. They'll build resilience and for us, and we're seeing already significant growth opportunities there. So that segment is something that we're wrapping our arms around, that ecosystem and maturing. With our two acquisitions that I mentioned, we had one sizable one in Switzerland and another one in Denmark. It's given us a much more mature partner ecosystem than any of our competitors right now in Europe. And we've been strengthening that, and I suppose maturing that partner channel in several ways. But one of the key ones has been to identify and enable premium partners. And it's allowing us already for greater market penetration and much more effective localization in what is, as Europe is well known, a quite diverse region. So this is where we are co-funding headcount. We're working with them and I guess record numbers in terms of marketing campaigns and really seeing significant buy-in and return and a lot of exclusivity. We've also built, target service offerings to scale globally. As I mentioned, that partner ecosystem, we have a blended approach in Europe where we're going to market both direct and with our partner channel, but our partner channel is extremely vital to us, and it allows us to scale. And the differentiator that I think we have in terms of our service offering right now, where we have a sizable team globally, but particularly in Europe, that we can scale. And we're finding that with some of the partners right now, they just cannot scale to the extent that they would like around the services side. Obviously, we can provide licenses to them very, very quickly. But on the services side, they are coming back, and we are providing sometimes one-off days, experts, SMEs in terms of specific packages. But we're very, very clear, and we've got a very good market presence around the packages with clear scopes, transparent deliverables, and the effort that's required both from a partner, and we do that for partners, but also selling directly. So that's a big, big differentiating factor for us right now. Combining that strong focus on customers and partners, I feel will result in really a stage platform to attract enterprise level future customers. I'll talk to you about one in a moment, a real might in itself, a pharmaceutical giant, and that we brought on just over a year ago, and from inception to actually going live, it was in a little under 5 months. So I think there are exclusivity, number one, and the range that we can bring in terms of engaging online events, value-added content, and really you're going to see us best in breed digital outreach campaigns, and that's what we're getting really known for. A final point before I maybe go on and talk a little bit about how we're expanding and where we're placing our significant bets in Europe is that Microsoft, and Brett will testify to this in a moment, but they're very heavily interested in working with us closely around our reach offering in Europe. We went to market with a webinar with them last month in front of well over 100 organizations that sit in the non-for-profit vertical. We're already speaking to a number of those, and have recently have a new customer on our books. It's the biggest cancer research company in the UK. It's Marie Curie, and they've got 4,500 employees. So it's a space that really trumps to our values, and we're delighted to be part of in terms of that altruistic feel as well. But Microsoft and the interest in our products and the chance to go in many verticals, but particularly the non-for-profit vertical, which is close to our values, is great to see. Our growth markets, if you don't mind slipping on to the next slide there, Dan. Our growth markets really are Germany and the UK. They're the biggest software market opportunities in Europe. We've already got a strong presence, but we are significantly increasing our footprint in Germany in 2021, and that's from March. And to give you an indication there in terms of the left-hand side diagram, we have a cluster there. We're very strong across Ireland, UK, the Benelux region, the Nordics, obviously as well, I've mentioned the UAE, but to give you an idea of that size right now, we're beginning to get independent assurance, obviously Gartner, Forrester, and many others, that we are becoming the #1 player in significant markets, particularly the likes of the UK there. So that's strong for us, and it's a market that's quite fragmented right now, but we have our targets set and a lot of very steadfast plans about how we're going to get deeper in that market in the coming months. Germany, hardly any moment of panic, as you can well imagine, as a market, very resilient, still in terms of their unemployment levels sitting in the single digits, and they're prime for much more expansion, and a footprint on the ground will significantly help us. Finally, I'm just going to touch on that pharmaceutical giant, Novartis, and just give you an idea in terms of, this is one of the customers that we're seeing significant growth in. I've mentioned there 25,000 additional users added during COVID, just giving you an indication. And where they came from, they had 9 disparate intranets. So we ran a 12-month project. As I mentioned, we had them go live in less than 5 months from the initial scoping meeting. And that's no mean feat, but it gives you an idea of the SWAT team that we can place on major enterprise clients like this. As I mentioned up top there, it's world's 41st most valuable company, and the market cap pretty impressive. The languages there, 55 languages, the geolocation, and we're servicing them across licensing, support, professional service, professional consultancy services on a constant basis. So definitely the enterprise market is where we're beginning to dominate, get a lot of word of mouth feedback from, and that's huge, particularly in the DACH region. Novartis sits in Switzerland, the HQ, and that's definitely an area there where we plan to capitalize on and grow significantly in 2021. Thanks, Dan. Over to you, Karl.
I'm very pleased to invite to speak next Brett Gordon, who we've known for a long time, is heads up the whole partner ecosystem here in Australia. He's from New Jersey originally. You'll hear his accent, but based in Sydney. But they are an incredible partner for us, Microsoft. The partnership is getting deeper, and we're working closer than ever. So over to you, Brett.
Thank you, Karl, and thank you to the entire LiveTiles team. And you might hear the accent even after 20 years. I've been trying to shake it a little bit, but struggling a little bit, so it's still here. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. But yeah, just want to say thank you for the opportunity here to present today. My name is Brett Gordon, and I get the privilege to work with some of the most incredible startups and software companies that are creating new products, business models, both locally in Australia and around the world. For the past 12 years, I've spent time working across a variety of roles at Microsoft, but really the place where I get most of my energy from is helping our partners build successful businesses, creating amazing products, and helping them grow globally. One of the reasons I'm so passionate about this space is that prior to joining Microsoft, I had my own systems integration business. It was focused on mobile solutions, mobile device management. Way back then, in those days, it was really just having a lot of people unboxing mobile devices, updating everything manually, entering lines of code, installing apps. There wasn't even an iPhone back then, so times have changed. But when I reflect on that time, it was one of the most proud moments when my company got featured on basically the Windows Mobile homepage. If anybody remembers Windows Mobile, we actually had 30% market share at one point in the mobile business, but that was certainly a while ago. And when I didn't realize, I guess at the time, was that it was just being linked to the power of the Microsoft homepage, search engine optimization. All of a sudden, leads just started pouring in, and that was really just because I was connected to a very heavily trafficked web page around the world. Look, the reason I'm sharing that story is because I accidentally got connected into the Microsoft partner ecosystem and built a business around it, and then sold it a few years later. Those days, the channel has evolved to incentivize, or nowadays to incentivize our own field sellers to not only sell our own products like Office 365, Teams, Azure, but also solutions from partners like LiveTiles that are creating amazing repeatable IP. That we can go to market with. So today, what I wanted to do is give you a short overview of the Microsoft channel, why people would partner with Microsoft, and cover off just a couple questions that I typically get asked about LiveTiles. So before I get into that, let's see if I can move this on. I'm going to throw up some numbers. So I want to get some audience interaction here. Who can tell me what these numbers are? So I'll give everybody a couple seconds to put something in the chat, but think of it as scale. If you want to have a crack, just throw it in the chat, and Karl will announce you as a winner later on. So to give you some perspective on how big our channel is, 95% of all of our revenue comes through the partner channel. It is a massive, massive channel. Out of that, we are always been a very much a partner-led organization. Even when Bill Gates had this dream of putting a PC on every desk in every home, all led through partner. The 300,000 number there, that's the number of partners that we have globally in the Microsoft ecosystem, and the 17 million, is the number that we have of employees that work within that ecosystem. So it's a massive opportunity if you can tap into it. And LiveTiles have. So how do you actually crack into that? Well, we have a program called co-selling. And when I think about co-selling, it's really about the ability to work with a partner and a customer to sell a product and a service. And think of it this way, like you might have a Microsoft field seller. They have a strong relationship with Deakin University. They may also be aware that the customer has just deployed Microsoft Teams to the university staff and that they're looking for a communications tool that would allow them to get information out quickly to the university staff, as well as anyone that works on the university, like cleaning staff or cafeteria. They might not even be directly employed by the university. So they know that LiveTiles has a purpose-built solution called Reach, plugs directly into Teams. The Microsoft seller are able to log this in a tool called Partner Center and automatically sends off a workflow to the LiveTiles team to meet with the Microsoft team to discuss how they can actually help the university solve their problem faster. So not only that, we have that collaboration tool to bring the teams together, but we also have incentives to pay our Microsoft field sellers. So very different Microsoft than a while years ago, but we pay our field sellers 10% of the annual contract value to sell a LiveTiles solution because it runs on Azure. They've gone through a certification process. It's up on the marketplace. Our modern workplace teams have KPIs on getting people more engaged with the Teams platform, and LiveTiles applications do these things. So before I go on, I just want to make sure that everybody understands some of the lingo that we've actually been using. What is an ISV, or what we refer to as an independent software vendor? So it's really an industry term. It's been around for quite some time. But basically what it means is if it's repeatable and requires little customization, then we call it an ISV. You might be familiar with some of the large ISVs, the global, some of the ones that like a Citrix or Adobe. On the consumer side, you might even think about like a Spotify or a Netflix. It's basically an app that you can pay for a service or a license for. And in our case, LiveTiles, perfect example, running things like LiveTiles Vibe, Reach, Everywhere, Internet. It simply just gets deployed to the users in a matter of either minutes, hours, days, but certainly not months. Requires very little integration. So why are ISVs important? Let me just flip the slide here. So ISVs are important because they really align to the key Microsoft priorities. We're very focused on Azure, our cloud platform, modern workplace, which is Windows, Office 365, and Teams, and security and business applications, which is really Dynamics 365. So the example I'll use is really around cloud computing. If you think of the cloud as pipes, we want people to consume Azure faster. ISVs build their applications on Azure and it starts spinning the meters and basically turning on the taps. So if we help our partners build great products on Azure, and then we help market them on Azure, and then we help them sell their solutions, it's really a win-win situation. And the numbers really disprove that. We know that the products are almost 6 times bigger when we have ISV partners that are involved. Customers on Azure are 8 times, the consumption is 8 times greater, and the deals just get closed faster, so 3.5 times faster. So to put that into perspective on some of the numbers, over the past 3 years, and since we started this program, we've had $15.6 billion, $15.6 US billion of annual contract value flow through this program. We've seen the number of opportunities and collaboration between our partners grow 51%. Deal velocity, as I mentioned before, is 3.5 times faster. And then we've also introduced what we, consider our enterprise marketplace. So we have direct web engagement or direct web stores. You think about things like Azure Marketplace or AppSource. So to take it one step further, to take a look at the 4 different channels that we actually have here. These are the 4 sales plays. And if you look at the bottom, you'll see that there's 1,500 field sellers that focus on our top 12,000 enterprise customers around the globe. You can then see that we have another segment of direct engagement that we have over 40,000 corporate accounts. The next opportunity to tap into is what I mentioned before, those 300,000 partners in the ecosystem. We provide a platform that allows our partners to sell through our partner network and get incentivized too. And then there's marketplace on top of that, which is really the future of the company, and being able to sort of collect money while you sleep. Marketplace is our enterprise app store. Customers go to and can purchase both first-party Microsoft products, but then they can also purchase products like LiveTiles, and they have the ability to list on there. So there's compelling opportunities to sell with Microsoft across marketplace, partner-to-partner engagements, cloud solution provider program, as well as opportunities to sell with Microsoft, inside sellers and field sellers. So there's a lot of opportunities here where Microsoft can add value to the portfolio and help launch into new markets. And we've worked regularly with LiveTiles on through our geo expansion program. So what I wanted to do now was pivot a little bit and talk a little bit about, what makes LiveTiles different. I get some of these questions quite regularly. LiveTiles is unique. First and foremost, it's their culture. Not many people are kicking off their conferences with Mark Matthews sharing stories around resilience, big wave surfing. They have an incredible leadership team and genuinely want to help people and companies achieve more. How many companies have, get X done, written into their core values and beliefs, and it really shows in how they go to market, how they work with our customers, our joint customers, how they solve technical problems, working directly with our engineering, either locally or in out of our headquarters in Redmond. Personally, I've been working with LiveTiles team for over 3 years, and that philosophy shows up every day. They're willing to take on new risks and new projects. For example, a few years ago, LiveTiles were really pushing the boundaries of Lewis and our botnet framework. The problem they were trying to solve for actually is kind of a funny one, but working with a large multinational airline, and people were trying to take prohibitive animals on the plane, so they were sort of classifying as helper animals. And the only issue that the big issue was that people were calling peacocks dogs, tigers were being called kittens, and they were trying to sneak them on these planes. So the airline needed a fast way to look up each one of them, the actuals with their photos. And as a way to solve the issue, we were working with our bot team in our headquarters in Redmond. And LiveTiles were really pushing the boundaries on some of the natural language queries. We were able to speak directly to Microsoft core engineering team in Redmond and the product group. This led to regular cadences with our engineering group, and collaboration with the different points of not only LiveTiles who have an office in Redmond, based in collaboration with Hobart, as well as some of their European offices. And it led to meetings with some of the corporate VPs, so we can get a direction of where the corporate VP of AI, so we can actually get a direction of where we're headed. As a result, Microsoft invited LiveTiles to be part of the partner advisory council around cognitive services. This gave LiveTiles the insight on where to build, how to leverage existing products that Microsoft are releasing. The same goes for the other products like SharePoint and Teams. If you're pushing the boundaries of our products, we want our partners and customers' feedback. By working closely with the engineering teams, they know where to focus their efforts and understand what Microsoft is thinking and how to pivot as they start thinking about the future. So as I mentioned before, the LiveTiles product team go through an IP COSO certification process that enables our field team to get paid up to 10% of the annual contract value. So there's very much incentive for our field or our partners to go and work together. This one, the next question I get, I kind of snicker at a little bit when, is LiveTiles a competitor or an enabler? As I mentioned before, we are such a partner-led organization. They are without a doubt an enabler and a very complementary to our existing products. Microsoft make core platforms. We depend on our partners to create purpose-built industry and vertical solutions that our customers are looking for. LiveTiles are in a unique position to help Microsoft teams be more sticky by putting Teams or Vibe directly into the Microsoft Teams store. And this really does two things. It increases user engagement when they start using the app. It also keeps them in Teams where there's over 115 million people and they do their collaboration for work. It also provides a lower barrier to entry if a customer wants to trial or deploy the application. All they have to do is grab it from the Teams store. The customer may even be able to transact the LiveTiles purchase on Microsoft Paperwork through the marketplace. And if you think about that, how much that can actually speed up procurement cycles. Anybody that's actually tried to sell into a large organization or a government agency, half the battle is actually trying to get onto those procurement panels. LiveTiles has already built that ability into their application so they can transact on Microsoft Paperwork. I hope that gives you an understanding, or very quick understanding, of the breadth of the Microsoft channel and how we work with some of our partners, in particular LiveTiles. But certainly, if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me, connect on LinkedIn, connect with the LiveTiles team. And with that, I just want to say thank you very much for your time, and please enjoy the rest of the Love Your Work conference. Look forward to hearing the bands later. See ya.
Great. Well, thanks, Brett, for that. Very insightful. And interestingly enough, even though we've got investors online, no one got the numbers right. No one actually came up with the right numbers. 95% of all Microsoft revenues transacted through partners. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us. If we haven't answered your question, we will get to it. We will give you a direct response. And please join us for other sessions this afternoon. You'll hear from some customers. If those that want to hear from ARC Supergroup, join that as well. So thanks for joining, and we'll speak to everyone soon. Thanks a lot.